Naomi Osaka is gearing up to play in her second title match at the Australian Open this weekend. That's after she defeated legend and one of her personal idols, Serena Williams, in a blockbuster semifinal on Wednesday. The world was watching as these two stars faced off in a match that transcended what was happening on the court. Quick Take's Vanessa Perdomo spoke with Kavitha Davidson about the influence of these women. Davidson is the host of The Lead at The Athletic and co-author of Loving Sports When They Don't Love You Back. Let's take a listen.
Kavitha, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So we just saw two of the biggest names in tennis have this epic semifinal matchup, and we haven't seen them compete in a major since the infamous 2018 US Open. Is this the rematch that the world has been waiting for?
I think it really is. It bore out in the ratings, certainly. I mean, that 2018 match that you referenced in the US Open was the second most watched US Open in ESPN's broadcast history. And this past Australian Open semifinal was also the second most watched Australian Open match in ESPN broadcast history. 806,000 people tuned in at 10 p.m. Eastern for the whole 4-hour broadcast. And interestingly, if you isolate just the Osaka Williams match, it was about 1.4 million people. So the numbers are insane. And just anecdotally, I mean, I'm sure you saw on Twitter, there were people watching this match who had never watched tennis before. And it was just because of these two women who were playing. So this was definitely the rematch we were all waiting for.
Yes, 100%. And I'd love to talk about that more. Social media was blowing up that night, and people were really saying that they didn't really know who they wanted to win, you know, because they have so much respect for both of these women. How much of an impact does that have? Like, that they're not just tuning in just to watch Serena, but that they are rooting for these young stars as well?
I mean, it's a huge boon for the sport. Obviously, the question for years now has been, how does tennis, and in particular American tennis, obviously, survive in a post-Serena world? We've seen the Serena bump for the last 5-6 years at least, that whenever she's in a match, the ratings are going to be bonkers and people are going to be tuning in. But Naomi Osaka is arguably the most marketable woman athlete in the world right now. She actually out-earned Serena last year. And the fact that you had these two women, two Black women, really driving tennis for people who haven't always watched tennis or never always thought tennis was for them, has been remarkable to see, and is a positive thing for the future of at least the women's game in the US.
And let's talk a little bit more about, you said Osaka, you know, she was the biggest earner last year, and she, you know, during social media, people were saying like these two legends, and she was like, I'm not a legend yet. But, you know, she's already taken her money and she's reinvested it into the NWSL, becoming a part owner of the North Carolina Courage. Maybe she's not a legend yet, but how big of a star is she, and how much does it say that she's already now investing her money into other female sports?
Well, she is a gigantic star, and her investment in the NWSL is obviously huge for that league. You also saw Alexis Ohanian, Serena's husband, in an Angel City FC t-shirt cheering her on in the sidelines. So there is buy-in for women's soccer. There is buy-in from other women athletes who see their own worth and their own earning potential, and want that to trickle down to other women. But what's so fascinating about Naomi Osaka is, if you've witnessed the last couple of years of her activation, her brand activation, and her political activation, she's really come into her own of who she is as a public persona, and it's so genuine. The future is extremely bright with Naomi Osaka and quite a few American stars who are going to pave that way.
For sure. And, you know, Naomi Osaka, like you said, not so much of passing of the torch yet, because, as you said, Serena's playing amazing and she's not ready to retire yet. I don't want to see her retire yet. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl this year at 43. LeBron James won a title at 35 this year. Serena's 39 years old. She's competing at such a high level in multiple finals over the last few years. Do you think she's not getting enough credit for the level she's playing at her age?
I think she's absolutely not getting enough credit for that. And frankly, she's not getting enough credit for this even being a conversation. There was a time not very long ago where the age of 30 was the end of your career in tennis. Tennis has always been a young person's sport. Serena has won 10 Grand Slams since turning 30, and she is doing this at a very high level at 39. She was moving better than we've seen her move in recent years. She was playing defense to a level that we don't really ever see Serena needing to play, frankly. So yeah, it has been, it's been incredible to see. I don't think that we can ever count her out. I'm excited to see what happens in the next year of Grand Slams. And, you know, September, the US Open is her favorite tournament. And I'm excited to see that in hopefully what will be more of a normal tournament situation than what we saw last year with COVID.
I tend to agree with Serena's husband's greatest athlete of all time. Kavitha, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.